The Eightfold Path for householders is a practical adaptation of the Buddha's teachings, particularly for those living as laypeople, balancing work, family, and responsibilities in the material world. The text is based on a series of Dharma talks by Jack Kornfield, which focus on how householders can apply these ancient principles in their day-to-day lives without renouncing worldly duties or pleasures. The core of the Buddhist path revolves around ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Kornfield organizes his talks around these themes and relates them to everyday experiences of people who live outside monastic settings, making the teachings accessible and relevant to a contemporary Western audience. Kornfield opens the discussion with right understanding, the foundational element of the Eightfold Path. He explains that the essence of meditation is not to become a meditator or attain a spiritual status, but to awaken to the present moment and the truths of existence, impermanence, suffering, and the illusion of self. He shares a story of the Buddha's enlightenment, where the Buddha defines himself not as a god or a man, but simply as awake. This awakening, Kornfield emphasizes, is accessible to all, whether monastic or layperson. It is the insight into the true nature of life, understanding karma, the law of cause and effect, how actions shape our future, and how mindfulness helps us observe the transient nature of all things. He uses everyday examples such as our reactions to pain or pleasure to illustrate that all experiences are fleeting and attachment to them leads to suffering. Right attitude is about cultivating a mental orientation that supports awakening. Kornfield explains that this involves three key qualities: openness, renunciation, and non-harming. Openness. He encourages practitioners to approach meditation and life with an open mind, free from rigid expectations. Whether one experiences peace or discomfort, the attitude of discovery is more important than achieving a specific state. Kornfield points out that life is filled with surprises and challenges, and it is through openness that we grow. Renunciation. Kornfield reframes renunciation not as giving up pleasures but as letting go of habits and attachments that keep us from freedom. He gives the example of how monks practice self-discipline to cultivate inner strength, which householders can also apply by recognizing and stepping back from their habitual cravings and fears. Non-harming, loving thoughts. The importance of non-violence in thought and action is central to right attitude. Kornfield encourages developing loving thoughts and recognizing that even small acts of kindness contribute to one's spiritual growth. He advocates patience and compassion as tools for dealing with life's inevitable difficulties. Right speech is the next step on the path and involves using language mindfully. Kornfield explains that the Buddha's guidelines for speech are practical tools for building harmonious relationships and reducing suffering. Right speech includes avoiding lies, speak the truth at all times, avoiding harsh words, even when criticizing or giving feedback, do so with kindness, avoiding gossip, refrain from discussing others' faults unnecessarily, using speech to uplift, speak in ways that bring benefit, joy, and encouragement to others. Kornfield emphasizes that mindful speech has the power to transform relationships, families, and communities. He draws parallels between the ethical use of speech and mindfulness in communication, suggesting that words are a form of action that should be treated with care. Chapter 4. Right Action. Kornfield explains that right action is closely linked to right speech and deals with ethical conduct in everyday life. He outlines three main ethical principles for householders. First, non-harming. Do not cause harm to any living being, whether through physical action or intent. Second, not taking what is not freely given. This includes not stealing but also respecting others' boundaries and possessions. And third, responsible sexual conduct. Kornfield advises householders to practice sexual responsibility, meaning engaging in relationships with honesty, respect, and mindfulness, avoiding exploitation or causing harm. By following these principles, lay practitioners can cultivate a way of life that is rooted in compassion, integrity, and kindness. Chapter 5. Right Livelihood. For householders, right livelihood plays a significant role in their spiritual practice. Kornfield explains that one's occupation should align with ethical values and contribute to the well-being of others. Right livelihood means choosing work that does not cause harm, such as jobs that exploit people, animals, or the environment. He encourages practitioners to reflect on their work and its impact on the world. He also acknowledges that it's not always possible to work in a perfect field, but being mindful of how one earns a living and finding ways to contribute positively to society can bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Chapter 6. Right Effort. Cornfield introduces right effort as the energy one applies to spiritual practice and personal development. He describes right effort as a balance between two extremes, pushing too hard or not trying at all. Right effort involves cultivating wholesome states of mind, such as compassion, patience, and kindness, and letting go of unwholesome states like anger, greed, and envy. In meditation, right effort means gently guiding the mind back to the present moment when it wanders. In daily life, it means consistently making choices that lead to well-being and happiness for oneself and others. Chapter 7. Right Concentration. Right concentration refers to the practice of deep, focused meditation, where the mind is directed toward a single object or task with clarity and stability. Cornfield describes it as a way to develop inner calm and insight. By practicing concentration, householders can cultivate a mind that is less reactive and more centered in the present moment. Concentration, Cornfield notes, is not only about sitting in meditation, but can be applied to any activity, whether it's working, walking, or engaging in conversation. A concentrated mind leads to greater wisdom and emotional balance. Chapter 8. Right awareness mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment. Cornfield emphasizes that mindfulness is not just for formal meditation, but is a tool for living a conscious life. He encourages householders to bring mindfulness into all aspects of their daily routines, such as eating, walking, or talking. Mindfulness helps practitioners notice their thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them. This awareness creates space to respond wisely rather than react impulsively to situations. Cornfield highlights the transformative power of mindfulness in helping people reduce stress, increase well-being, and navigate life's challenges with greater clarity. Chapter 9. Hindrances of the Householder. In the final chapter, Cornfield addresses the hindrances that householders face on their spiritual path. Common obstacles include desire, which is the craving for pleasure or material possessions; restlessness, the mind's tendency to be distracted and unsettled; doubt, uncertainty about the path or one's own ability to progress; and aversion, negative emotions like anger or frustration. Cornfield offers practical advice on how to work through these hindrances using mindfulness and self-compassion. He stresses the importance of persistence and patience, reminding practitioners that progress on the path is gradual and requires consistent effort. Conclusion. The Eightfold Path for Householders is a deeply practical guide to integrating Buddhist teachings into a busy, modern life. Cornfield emphasizes that spiritual practice is not about escaping the world but engaging with it wisely, with clarity, compassion, and equanimity. By following the Eightfold Path, householders can develop inner peace, ethical integrity, and a profound sense of purpose in their daily lives. The key takeaway is that enlightenment is not reserved for monks, but is accessible to anyone willing to apply mindfulness and ethical principles to their life, no matter how ordinary it may seem.